There's no denying that Sigma INFJs are bright, but not everyone is aware of their darker side. These 8 items sum up the shadow side of a Sigma INFJ's intelligence. 8. Relentlessly withdrawing from social situations. Encased in the cocoon of their thoughts, Sigma INFJs can unintentionally overlook the complex orchestration of feelings, chuckles, and intimate moments that transpire when they are surrounded by other people. This retreat is more of a careful dance with a need for personal space than a rejection of social ties. The bad side, however, shows when this retreat becomes into a fortress that protects people from the shortcomings and weaknesses of social relations. The value of connections, the unanticipated delights of chance encounters, and the important lessons learned from weaknesses shared are at risk of becoming eclipsed by inflation and solitary reflection. 7. An increased susceptibility to self-doubt. Because of their unwavering drive for perfection, Sigma INFJs are prone to becoming caught up in their own self-criticism. The same mind that deftly handles difficult concepts and feelings can also become inwardly focused, exaggerating one's own weaknesses and feeding a persistent sense of unease. They may become more vulnerable to self-doubt, which could undermine their confidence. Finding the right balance between self-reflection and self-flagellation is the challenge. The pursuit of perfection by Sigma INFJs may unintentionally become a haven for uncertainties that obscure their accomplishments and impair their vision. Do you find that you are more prone to self-doubt because of your analytical mind? 6. Self-criticism and perfectionism. What starts out as a pursuit of perfection might become an oppressive taskmaster with expectations that are higher than what is humanly possible. While pushing individuals to achieve greatness, this unrelenting drive also serves as a breeding ground for the critical voice inside them about their own work. Their own self-inflicted wounds stem from the intelligence that drives them to investigate the depths of ideas and emotions. Every work of art and every project that is examined closely turns into a work of self-criticism. Instead of being an inspiration, the genius of the Sigma INFJs can become a double-edged sword that pierces deeply with every perceived flaw. When the joy of growth is subordinated to the quest of perfection, the evil side comes to light. In their pursuit of mastery, Sigma INFJs could unintentionally run into a never-ending cycle of self-imposed norms. 5. Difficulty assigning tasks. Sigma INFJ's need for accuracy and concern that others would not live up to their high standards are the root causes of their unwillingness to delegate. The intelligence that drives their pursuits may turn into a double-edged sword, since the need to stay in charge may get in the way of productive teamwork. The negative aspect appears when the unwillingness to assign work becomes a solitary endeavor, making Sigma INFJs feel overburdened with work that could be divided. Although their independence is a strength, it can unintentionally cause fatigue as they handle their obligations alone and underestimate the advantages of teamwork. This difficulty is a delicate tango between shared responsibility and autonomy rather than a rejection of teamwork. The genius of Sigma INFJs can increase impact and stimulate creativity when it is used cooperatively. But the cloud of the difficulty in delegating could hide the possibility of group genius. Does burnout result from your unwillingness to delegate responsibility? 4. Propensity for excessive connection analysis. The sharp brains of Sigma INFJs scrutinize every gesture and subtlety as they try to figure out the unspoken language of relationships. Despite being motivated by a sincere desire to comprehend, this careful examination may unintentionally lead to conflict and complication. The shadowy side appears when connections are scrutinized so much that fleeting moments of kinship are reduced to strategic maneuvers. Sigma INFJs may unintentionally erect obstacles to the spontaneous and unpredictable nature of human contact in their quest for depth and meaning. The intelligence that enables them to understand the subtleties of feelings can turn into a shadow that hides the spontaneity and simplicity that are part of partnerships. For Sigma INFJs, acknowledging this inclination becomes essential. It takes a fine art to strike a balance between their perceptive analysis and an acceptance of the unpredictable nature of connections. It entails realizing that not every detail necessitates in-depth analysis, and that perhaps the beauty of relationships resides in embracing ambiguity and letting bonds develop organically. 3. An intolerance for incompetence. Although the analytical thinking and drive for excellence of Sigma INFJs are admirable, this trait also shows itself as a possible flaw that could hinder teamwork and strain relationships. Because of their tendency toward optimization, the Sigma INFJs may find it difficult to function in situations that they consider to be inefficient. When faced with perceived inefficiencies, what starts out as a drive for efficacy can quickly turn into anger and frustration. Their cleverness, which drives them to more efficient procedures, turns into a poison when it becomes intolerance for any approach that does not adhere to their well-designed norms. When this intolerance for inefficiency gets in the way of teamwork, the dark side shows. Because of their tendency on perfection, Sigma INFJs may unintentionally alienate those with differing timeliness or methods. A rigidity about productivity casts a shadow on the creativity that could improve teamwork. For the Sigma INFJs, acknowledging this intolerance becomes crucial. Although their desire for efficiency is a strength, it is crucial to realize that different methods might add to a more varied and insightful set of concepts. The difficulty is striking a balance between their need for efficiency and the understanding that many viewpoints and methods can produce creative solutions. Are you impatient to inefficiencies because of your desire for efficiency and improvement? 2. Analysis paralysis and excessive contemplation. Because of their need for in-depth comprehension and insight, Sigma INFJs could become ensnared in the complex web of overthinking. Each choice and situation is examined in great detail, resulting in a mental environment in which their intelligence might become a hindrance. When this tendency toward overthinking turns into analytical paralysis, the dark side shows itself. The plethora of options and possible outcomes may paralyze Sigma INFJs in their quest for the ideal solution. When their intelligence starts to stand in the way of taking decisive action, it becomes a double-edged sword that feeds their potential for profound understanding. For the Sigma INFJs, acknowledging this inclination becomes crucial. Their careful deliberation is a plus, but it's important to realize that not every choice calls for in-depth research. 1. Find it difficult to show your sensitivity. It could be difficult for Sigma INFJs to honestly discuss their own weaknesses. When directed inward, their intelligence, which frequently shows up as an ability to comprehend the complexities of others, can become a hindrance. Ironically, the very trait that makes individuals very empathic may work against the mutual sharing of vulnerability. The dark side shows through when the inability to communicate sensitivity gets in the way of developing close relationships. The Sigma INFJs may unintentionally alienate themselves from the deep bonds that result from shared vulnerabilities in their pursuit of emotional independence. Their exceptional emotional intelligence turns into a quiet battle to strike a balance between being the person who needs support and the one who is the source of it. It is imperative that the Sigma INFJs acknowledge this difficulty. Although their strength is in navigating the emotional terrain of others, it is crucial to realize that showing flaws and vulnerabilities is a bridge to deeper connections rather than a sign of weakness. The trick is to strike a balance such that their emotional intelligence shines through without being overpowered by their fear of showing their own weaknesses. Do you find it difficult to communicate your emotional struggles with other people as a Sigma INFJ? There are several intellectual and emotional benefits and drawbacks to being a Sigma INFJ. Nevertheless, Sigma INFJs are always able to overcome their shortcomings by transforming them into assets that both they and others can use to their advantage. Do you acknowledge having these negative aspects of being smart as a Sigma INFJ? How can you turn these into advantages?